listener production.
G'day everyone, Rusty here, about to hand over the reins for the latest ep of Drivers Only, which proudly lives here in the garage at Listener and on the Supercars YouTube channel. So much for the panel to cover in this ep, fresh off the back of the Sandown 500 and in the build-up to the big one, the Bathurst 1000, which is only a few weeks away now. Plus, since the last edition, news broke about Toyota joining the championship in 2026, which is huge, with the Supra, and a consortium of Supercars executive attended the Singapore F1 night race. Could they be on the bill there one day? Bit to cover, and fittingly we have a couple of co-drivers on the panel who are handy with a microphone. Garth, Tander and Craig Lowndes joining Will Davison and the bloke who loves to go off script, and we love him for it, David Reynolds. Fire it up, lads. Have some fun.
We're back. Drivers Only episode 5. Reynolds, you've been on a few of these. Dave Reynolds joins us in the Melbourne studio. In the Brisbane studio, we've gone interstate.
First time ever.
Craig Lowndes, the modern GOAT of Bathurst.
The modern GOAT.
And Will Davison from Shell V-Power Racing. Welcome, boys.
Hello. Sweating up here. How are you down there?
We're still freezing in
Still
Melbourne.
cold, yeah.
Still freezing in Melbourne. It hasn't changed since you went home from Sandown.
It was actually looking pretty good before Sandown, wasn't it? It was actually sort of getting into spring and it was like 22, 23, and then when it gets to Sandown, 13 degrees.
You don't say good, it's just less bad.
Yeah, true.
It's not like
The car park was
it's
still
not
full
like
of mud.
Brisbane, the Gold Coast, where it's like 30 degrees already up there. Big time of year, boys. Lowndesy, this is like, we only get 2 months of the year that we can call ourselves race car drivers, so we're in the middle of that. Obviously, Will and Dave full time, but let's debrief Sandown. Let's start with Craig Lowndes. Wild card with Cooper Murray. Great result for the team. Cooper was strong at the end. How was Craig Lowndes' weekend?
My weekend was really relaxed, pretty chill, to be honest. I think that, watching little Cooper do both Super 2 and the main game, running back and forth was quite entertaining, to be honest. It was sort of, he'd run into the transporter, he'd be like a Superman, rip all his gear off, put all our gear on, and then jump in the car. But the one question we didn't have, which we do now have, is if he did or did not have any endurance. And that was a big question because Super 2, as you know, only does 5 laps and there's a safety car. So it's like, bugger me. Can we actually get this kid to do double stints at Bathurst? And I think we've ticked that box now.
So I got a question for you. How come he was like the main driver?
No, he was the co-driver. I was the main driver.
But did he qualify?
Yeah, no, the reason they made Lowndesy the main driver, so then he could start and they could do the traditional strategy. So they only did one driver change. So that was traditional Sandown strategy for the wildcard car. Loophole and a new rule. But we might get into that a little bit.
Most
Supercars make the
loopholes,
rules.
isn't it?
We'll get into that a little bit later. Wilbur, you shared the car with a very young co-driver as well, in Kai Allen. How was your?
Yes.
You guys were pitted next to us, and it looked like they were rebuilding the front of your thing pretty heavily halfway through the race.
Oh, I didn't help that actually.
Oh yeah, well Dave started off by giving the rear a little touch up.
A little one,
22,
yeah.
only
Sorry,
140 to go. It's
Reynolds.
just counting down.
Was that those primary
5-4.
drivers out of control at the start of a race?
Oh, here we all were thinking, listen, we need to run these co-drivers through these rules. They're a bit tricky. We've only had how many months to get used to it? First one, enduros, and there was Dave in my back.
Yeah, sorry
making
about
all
that,
my
man.
fears come true of just let's make sure this sensitive little rear diffuser is nice and straight for the run home. I've just got to keep this car straight. No, thanks, mate. Parachute engaged. Cheers.
Sorry, pal. I'm really sorry. I actually did apologise to you. I rang
You
you
did
after
ring
I
me
left the
Sunday
track and
night.
said, dude,
You
sorry. Like, I was.
Listen, as you hit me, though, I then looked in the mirror and I saw it 5 wide.
I
I
got
think
hit
it was
too.
Slade ploughing you, and I think I even saw Sleelk. We were coming with all 4 locked as well.
So what
maybe I
happened there?
overslow.
Where was that?
It was down the front straight into turn 1 because the safety ball, the 80K.
Oh, is that one?
What do they call it?
It was right,
FCY, FYC?
Full course yellow.
So what happens is these days is like the FYC gets triggered and then you get 15 seconds, which is a really long time to slow down to 80.
Who's the bravest? I'll stay flat till at least 7.
Yeah.
Well,
What's your number?
Like,
What's your number?
Well, it depends how fast you're going and
depends
where you are on the track. You got
So where was this was the end of the front straight.
Yes.
Were you in the braking zone yet, or you're still full noise?
No, because Ryan Wood is in front of us and he sort of buttoned off to try and, I don't know what he was doing, but maybe he was trying to get
conservative.
space.
He
was trying to get space to stop double stacking, I think. I don't know, to Chaz.
Oh, is that what you reckon? Okay.
Well, possibly. And then so then he stopped. He started to slow down, but then accelerated again. So then Will's done the same thing and I've done the same thing. And usually from like 4, after I get the countdown from 5 on my dash, that's when I start to like really manage my speed to 80 Ks. And obviously Will's tried to slow down maybe a second slower than me.
I think I got to
and
80 at about 2 seconds.
Yeah, I try and get to it at 0 seconds, like stupid professional I am. And then I looked up and I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a big one. And then
it is hard though, isn't it? Because you're looking at the clock, the speed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then hopefully in front of you, Dave. So I went to the left of Ryan Wood, if you would have noticed.
Yeah,
But
well.
all this while this is
There was
happening,
only
Reynolds,
6
where are you
car
looking?
lengths either side.
I'm looking at my dash.
Are you looking out the windscreen or are you looking at your dash?
Well, I'm looking at my dash trying to maximise the distance to the car in front in case we do go into the pit stops. I can maybe jump in possibly.
Well, you were deep.
Yeah.
You did well.
I did, yeah. I was deep into your car. That's how deep it was.
And where were you looking, Wilbur? Are you looking at your dash, trying to maximise your 80 Ks?
Left. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to lie. I was on the conservative side, only because Woody went super conservative.
Yeah.
And then I thought
Which
at
is
Tassie,
unlike him.
I had a bit of a, there was a bit of a close call at Tassie down the back straight. And I thought, well, then the safety car got scrambled anyway. And I'm like, I'm not going to risk a drive through to be a hero for no reason. So only 140 to go, Dave. I thought, I'll just go a little conservative.
Sorry, I was racing.
So,
Never mind.
I mean,
We'll never learn. I'm listening.
No, I'm
son.
terrible at that stuff.
we've lobbed straight into full course yellow here. So,
Well, it's a big talking point.
does it work?
Well, it sort of does as a safety standpoint, but it's really boring to watch because, you know, the way the rule is happening, they do 2 laps under FYC before they put the safety car out. So they've got 3 laps
stacked
minimum.
anyway.
Hey?
You guys, why did you guys stack?
I don't
Why
know.
did
How'd you stack?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
You guys probably need to debrief that.
So
Yeah, we have. Listen, in depth. Okay.
You just don't want to tell us, Will.
It does work sometimes,
Yeah.
but not all the time, I think.
So, okay, let's use the last one at Sandown when Brody Kostecki's engine failed up the back straight.
Yeah.
They done 1 lap under full course yellow, and then the car was in the lane, and then they did a further 2 laps.
As part
Under
of the,
full course
is that
yellow.
like the Michael Massey rule set?
No, well, if
Yeah,
Massey was in control, mate, we were racing straight away.
I know. That's was. I think the Abu Dhabi 2021.
Did that take the sting out of the? Did that take the sting out of the tail of the race?
Maybe, I don't know. But like Brady was stuck on the side of the track and we still passed him at 260 k's an hour for a lap, I think, before the safety car come out. So, or before the FYC come out.
Brody's car was out of danger. So they recovered the car under the first FCY lap.
Yeah.
And a few cars jumped in because they going, well, this is going to be a short one. So they jumped in and took the gamble late in the race to put fresh tyres on.
Yeah.
And then there was a further 2 laps after that. And then anyone that missed the first lap went, oh,
We'll just pit again.
that's a good idea. Let's do that
Yep.
and cover them. And then the ones that finally went, oh, now we're in trouble. We got to cover them off. So 3 laps for what I felt like was probably a 1 lap full course yellow.
100%.
So does it take, as it
way
stands
too
at the
long.
moment, does it take the strategy element out of it? Because one of the,
Well, it
you know,
does because you just wait. You just
Yeah.
see who takes that first lap, and if you're racing that person, they take it. Well, then you go, oh, okay, maybe I should pop into pit lane and put some tyres on. But it takes the element of risk out. So back in the old days when the safety car was deployed, the guys in the pit lane literally had like 1 or 2 seconds to make a choice whether they were pitting or not. And now they've got like 6 minutes to make a choice whether they want to take tyres and fuel and whatnot. So it sort of takes that element of risk out and, you know, the possibility of losing and winning in a safety car situation. So I don't know what it was like to watch from, but
it takes a long time.
Yeah, in the car, it took a long time to actually complete the whole cycle. So,
Would we prefer to spend these races or fuel races? I mean,
But don't
the
forget,
double stacking might make it exciting for everyone watching. But
yeah,
I've
double
always,
stacking's great.
I think
It puts it back on the drivers to
And
out
listen,
qualify your
we've all
teammate.
gained from it and lost from it probably equally over the years. But you know,
Yeah,
the biggest race
I-
of years in a few weeks, and your whole focus for 130 laps is to make sure you don't get ruined by that.
We can't do FYC or FCY for 2 laps of Bathurst. It'll be 12 to 15 minutes under FYC because
And we also
it's
never went
twice
back
as
to
long,
green.
and-
We always went from full course to
we
safety
did
car.
one.
Why
we did
why
one.
just have them? Yeah.
We did one go green from FCY at Sandown, which we should have done with the Brodie Kostecki one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got to circle back because this is all done. This is all done so that we can get safety marshals or recovery marshals on the track more quickly because the cars are instantly down to 80k an hour.
Yeah.
So we can get the recoveries done more quickly, so we can get back to racing more quickly. But somehow we're tripling the time that it takes to do a very minor recovery. All right, let's.
I've got something on
close
that
out.
actually.
Okay, go Reynolds.
So why can't we just we've all done indoor go-karting, right?
Okay, here we go.
In indoor go-karts, when there's an accident, they press the button and all the go-karts go down to like one speed. Why can't supercars just implement that? Just press a button, we all go down to speed at the same time. Like indoor go-karts have it. Why can't we have it?
Just save your car, Reynolds.
Because
Hey, it would too, yes. I wouldn't have my front of the car stuffed and the rear of my car stuffed and be a sail all day.
Because indoor go-karts are doing maybe 30k an hour. We're doing maybe 300k an hour. It's probably
Yeah, I
a bit
know,
more.
but it's just another zero. Big deal.
Okay, let's test that on your car, Dave. Let's close out Sandown. Craig Lowndes, who I think we're going to know the answer to this one, but who impressed you the most at Sandown?
Well, yeah, I'd say Cooper, only because he put his elbows out.
What a surprise.
Oh, I know. Look, I actually spoke to Cam after the race, and I said to Cam, why in the hell did you hit us on the restart? He goes, well, I was always going to hit him. So he was putting pressure on the young kid, and he actually got his elbows out. I was really impressed.
I thought your car would have been stuffed after that because he went through like the
He did.
the turn two. Whoops.
Where did he hit him? Where'd they touch those two?
Into turn two.
Hit turn
Waters
two.
tried to pass him, and then they
Go the inside of turn two.
Interesting new passing opportunities on the weekend.
Yeah.
Everyone was trying at 2, 4. Like, Jesus, this is new.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at 4.
There was plenty of touches.
Everyone forgot about
There's
like
a
turn
new,
one.
new curb on the inside of 4, so people were just 4 wheels across that.
Bomb diving.
Yeah, that was a bit rude.
Bomb diving, that's a new one. Wilbur,
dive bombing
Wilbur,
or
who
bomb
impressed you?
dive?
Who impressed you at Sandown?
Who impressed me at Sandown? Oh, CL, I love it. CL, like top 5. That's pretty awesome for a wild card.
Drag me out.
I was watching. Hang on, no, I wasn't watching the start when I got out. And GT, you were all over those guys. I can't remember who it was. I think I was like, that car's working well on the last sector. But you were pretty close to those Red Bull guys, and I just love seeing older guys just absolutely nail it. No. All jokes
Fernando
aside.
Alonso.
Yeah, it's an interesting race because I think we saw a fair bit of silliness. Like we all started the race,
Is that
and it was a
directed
bit
at
weird.
me, Will?
No, because you're normally very sensible, Dave.
Normally
think
I
that
am,
was
yeah.
I think that was just a lack of eyes up. I don't think you meant that. But early on, and you can damage your car at Sandown, and I'm on the grid going, it's an enduro, Will. It's an enduro. Let's not go into sprint mode, mind. But then you look at the start, and I think it was JC into Wood, and he's half backwards at 1, and then obviously Anton was then drilled at 4, and I'm like, Christ, this the straight car situation. It's going to be one of those days. So I'm like, I'm going to play it smart today. But clearly, our car I got more hits than Elvis throughout the day.
Reynolds, who impressed you?
Who impressed me? Well, I wouldn't. It's not. I'm impressed by watching the co-drivers go because like it was all quite normal and professional when the main driver was out there, but when the co-drivers got in, it was like pandemonium. It was awesome to watch, and that's what impressed me.
Okay, so question: does the rule of starting the primary drivers does it work?
I don't know.
Take the
We've only done
strategy
once.
out of it?
Well, it does take the strategy out, but everyone would have done the same strategy anyway.
They would have done the Lowndes strategy.
They would have done, the Lowndes strategy.
Yeah, well,
which
what's
is
wrong
the
with
old
that?
strategy. Nothing's wrong with it. It's
But
completely
does it
normal.
work? Did it work? Sample size
No.
is only 1 at the moment.
Exactly. It's only
So
one. but
Lowndes
No.
sounds very vocal on this. Go.
Well, it does. It takes away a strategy, especially when we go to Bathurst. Like, I understand what they're trying to do in the sense of, I think it's a weather dependent. If it's a wet start, I can gather a bit of a common sense about that, having the main drivers start the race. But at the end of the day, co-drivers, we pick co-drivers because of their hopefully
Skill.
speed and their sensibility. So they should have the pressure of starting a race as much as we are.
It's one thing the co-driver report doesn't show, does it? I was looking at that yesterday. I'm like, where's the sense in this? You see some of the best performing co-drivers, what I thought were a long way down the performance of the co-driver report.
I made that point before the race that a lot of co-drivers are doing an amazing job anonymously. And you won't know it unless you're in team land and you go right into the numbers and you digest it in your analysis after the race. You go, holy smokes, that guy did a mega job. I did not see
right.
1 second of that.
Yeah, that's right. Because he wasn't locked up through the grass.
No, exactly, because he did a good job.
So elbows out, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I think you appreciate the co-driver getting the elbows out in a way until you get in the car and your steering wheel's, halfway down and the bumper's hanging off it. And everyone's like, he did a good job and now I'm slow. But that's not Kai. Actually, Kai got wiped out. But
last time I gave
it's a
it
tricky
to,
one, isn't it?
Last Sandown, I gave it to my co-driver to start the race, and he drove the wheels off it.
Yeah, I did. The wheels fell off the thing. I'm actually, I wanted to do the debrief to make sure you didn't do the wheels up, Reynolds. Okay, that's Sandown. Let's lock that away.
Thanks for that, because it took off the rear wing of the Moth
Waters
car.
thing.
car, yeah, that's right.
It's a good shot, that. Try and do that twice. Bounce it off the backboard, use get the guardrail and take someone's wing out. A little bit of news lately, post-Sandown, pre-Bathurst. Toyota. That's big.
Huge. It's massive
big for the
news.
sport.
Absolutely massive.
Did anyone see it coming?
No, not at all. I'd never heard that in the whispers of the grapevine or anything like that, and I was ever so surprised.
Oh, they've always been talking about like a Kia or a Toyota coming in once we've gone to these generation cars, because that's why, in theory, we went to them. But it's interesting that Walkinshaw's the first to jump.
Probably not surprised. If
No,
someone had
that's-
said
I
6
don't
months ago, who's going to be the next
Well, who's the second
homologation
Who's the second
good
team?
question.
Who's capable?
Good
Oh,
question.
yeah.
I think
Well, it'd have to be
we have answers
Grove
on
or
a
Tickfords. I
we
don't
have answers on a T-shirt, I reckon, in
Oh, yeah.
our pod right now. David
so
Reynolds has got Toyota on his T-shirt.
Oh, sorry. You said who's going to be the second team.
Second team.
Toyota.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying who could be another homologation team.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
well,
The second.
There's only
Toyota,
ever
yeah,
one
well,
homologating team.
Yeah, so Walkinshaws are the factory team, if you like, and they've said that they will pick a second team halfway through 25.
Is that
100%
is that
Dave's going to have a Land Cruiser company.
I think so.
Land Cruiser.
I was thinking
I'm
more
gonna
like
have 100
I was
series. He looks
thinking
like a
more
Stinger
like
man.
Toyota. I was thinking more like Toyota
Supra.
Toyota Echo.
86 for you, Dave.
Yeah.
I have been enjoying the Fast and the Furious memes with like Ryan Walkinshaw and the Toyota Supra.
Yeah,
it's
right.
really funny.
I remember when you were young, you had that little RX-7, Dave. You picked me up one day and I didn't think I was going to make it home. You had the skeleton gear knob on it. And he was a Formula Ford kid. I'm like, he's like, let's go to dinner.
We went to
Oh,
Frostbites,
wow.
I remember.
Did he take you
Yeah.
to Hungry Jack's?
Frostbites. Do you remember Frostbites?
Yeah, I do.
Shifting, I'm
Yeah.
just looking at the gear stick, and Dave was having one of his excited little moments in the drizzle. I'm like, oh dear.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
It was raining
getting
that
back to your question, GT, yes, I think it's good for the sport because when we saw the other brands coming in, they actually, it was interesting to see the reaction before they came in and no one wanted it. They just wanted the traditional Ford, then Holden, GM. But when they did come in, everyone loved it. So I think Toyota coming into the sport. The other interesting thing is on the weekend with the Singapore race, we had some representatives up there. So we could even be up there as well.
Really? Have you got news to break, Lowndes?
No, I know
okay.
that
All right.
some of our key supercars people were up that way. So
They are, yep.
it's a good little area for Toyota.
But if you could have picked any manufacturer, like top of the pop, really.
Toyota would be
global.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one for years everyone's mentioned, and it was
Oh, well,
one of
they're-
those. It would never
They've got
happen,
like
but-
25% of the market
the
in
world's
Australia.
largest
so,
car
like,
maker. Biggest sales in Australia. Like it's the big dog nowadays in Australian motoring. So they've been flirting with supercars for 20 years. So I think it actually will open the floodgates because if other manufacturers that are maybe casually looking at supercars go, wow, if Toyota after 20 years of looking at supercars have decided now's the time to jump in, there must be something in that. So I would imagine that there'll be corporate offices in Australia for other manufacturers revisiting their strategic plan with supercars on the back of Toyota's decision. Whether that leads to another manufacturer, I don't know, but they'll be certainly looking at it for sure because it's Toyota moves the market. Like they dictate the market.
They've got such a large percentage of it that they can dictate what they want.
so-
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a really good move.
No, I
and
think so
can't
too.
wait.
Are you, Dave, driving one of their products?
Yeah, Dave's really
Well,
looking
no, I
forward
actually
to
drive
What engine
a
are they
Silverado
using,
at the
Dave?
minute. I actually don't know anything about it. I only found this out last week. So.
I think it's surprising that a pretty high-profile driver has left one of the Ford factory teams to go to what was, at the time, seemed to be a very small two-car operation. And maybe that he had some intel that maybe there was a big deal in the wind that maybe, hey, if you come to our team, some good things are going to happen in the future.
I had absolutely no idea about.
I wasn't talking about you, Reynolds.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
Anyway,
Are you pointing at Anton there, are you?
maybe.
Apparently,
maybe.
the engine's the same out of the NASCAR. It's going to be.
Yeah, no, it's a quad
Dakar
cam,
car.
5 litre capacity engine. So very similar to the Ford engine.
How are the
in
Ford
its
engines going,
architecture.
by the way?
Well, maybe not the best at the moment.
Are they going to make Bathurst?
There will be Ford engines at Bathurst. Why are you asking this question, David Reynolds?
Because we've had a few failures recently.
Do you miss your Mustang from last year though, Dave? Because it was going very well.
It was my Mustang. It was going awesome.
You
at
won
the
some
end of
races
last
in
year.
that
I did. I was
Mustang,
going awesome.
really.
I loved it. I enjoyed my time with Grove Racing and had a great time. And I'm driving a Chev now. It's all good.
Okay. Who's going to go look at the Supra at Bathurst? They'll have a concept or a mock-up of their
I'll have a look.
Gen 3 car there. Reynolds is going to have a look.
I'll have a look.
Is it going
Who's
up in your?
driving?
Is it going up in your truck?
No, it's not going up my truck. Is someone driving, or it's just
No,
like
it's just a mock-up.
Okay,
It's probably.
sweet.
I think they're doing a full-size clay model of the car.
Because the actual
concept.
actual car is quite small, so they have to like stretch it, don't they, to make to a little bit to sort of make the
It's got Volvo
measurements.
S40 vibes about it.
Ooh, does it really?
Well, they're talking
that was a
about
rocking day.
talking about stretching cars over the
Driving that thing
Gen
at
3 wheelbase.
70% throttle for a few test days. You remember that?
What's that?
That's right. When you have one team with a new manufacturer, it's dangerous, you know.
Well, no, you'd have to argue that the testing
We're a lot
is a
better
lot
this-
more rigid now. Obviously, wind
Yeah, no,
tunnels and
100%
AVL
think
dynos.
it's
and-
improved. I'm just laughing at that opening day at SMP where I'm not sure if Scott would actually admit this publicly, but I think he's like, yeah, mate, I was driving around at 70% throttle
Yeah,
all day.
I
I
was
was catching people that much down the straight.
I've seen some data having driven for that team.
Oh, yeah, you did too, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a lot of potential, that car.
That car sounded awesome. When they started up for the first time, I was like, Jesus, that sounds amazing.
Actually, look back on that. I think someone just touched on that, where our sport's based on red versus blue. People come and crash the party. No one's happy until it's gone. And then it's like, oh, how good was the Volvo and the Merc and
that's
the
right.
Nissan?
Yeah,
it was really cool.
fantastic.
Well, even now, like, I mean, Will and Dave are probably too young, but people retrospectively think about the Group C touring car era of Australian motorsport, the early to mid 80s. Like, oh, that was the golden era. And you look at the grid sizes, and there was 13 cars, and pole was 3 seconds faster than second, and all the rest of it. The cars were cool, but it wasn't probably the best motorsport era
No.
of the time.
Is that when minis were rolling around too?
No, that minis were 60s, mate.
60s,
Yeah, a little
okay.
bit earlier. A little bit earlier.
Group C Mini.
Yeah.
Group C Mini.
So we're in enduro mode at the moment, and we don't currently have the Enduro Cup anymore, do we? So we have 2 enduro races, but there's not really an Enduro Cup. So we're 50-50 here, 2 primary drivers, 2 co-drivers. Do we need to have another endurance race and as part of the expanding of the calendar, hopefully one day in the future, do we need to add another endurance race to add more of the enduro element into our sport?
Yes.
Yeah. Straight up.
Like a true
Well,
co-driver.
Yes.
Well, I think like when they used to have 3, it was really good. I reckon they could even have 4 if they wanted to. Like,
Well, 4's a lot.
no,
Yeah,
honestly,
sounds like a lot of work.
for us guys. For myself,
Just a full enduro championship coming at this
No,
time of my
but like-
career. That'd be beautiful.
yeah, I suppose, yeah.
No, I don't think. There's 2 guys probably not far away from enduro roles going, yeah, 4 would
Oh,
be
I got
good because I
another-
can jack the
10 and
contract
I'm done.
price. No, I think we don't want to have 3 when we're 12 races as a championship, because as a percentage of the championship, that's too much. But if we do expand to 14 races, for example, then I why couldn't we go back
4.
to 3 co-driver races?
Well, I think it will be 3 next year, won't it?
Will it?
I think so, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I'm not so sure it will be. I
I'm
think
not
it'll
so
stay
sure
at
about that
2.
either.
But the question is,
okay.
because don't forget the Ben's back on the calendar
Ah,
next year,
that's-
and
yes.
they've been. I don't know if it's
Sorry.
officially promised on paper and signed off on, but from what I understand, that an enduro will be at the Bend. So we may not necessarily have the Sandown 500 next year as a 2-driver race. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Actually, the Bend. I think the Bend will be great as an endurance.
Not
venue.
going to Sandown for like an enduro race.
No,
you
for
mean?
the 2-driver, the traditional precursor Bathurst race.
Yeah, was it last year or the year before? We went straight to the 1000.
That
We
was
missed
19.
19, was it really?
Yeah.
Jeez, that time's passed a lot faster than I thought. I just realised what year it is.
You now have 2 children, Dave.
That's right. Far out. Where's my life gone?
Yeah.
It's collapsing in front of me.
Nappies and midnight changes.
Yeah, it sucks. I know. I'm still in the full swing of that. I do like having a precursor.
Oh, we will. I would imagine that there will be a 500k race pre-Bathurst, but it won't be the Sandown 500, which is may not be.
I love Sandown as a track. I love like the historical part of it. I love the track layout. I love the curbs. I love everything about it. Besides the weather sucks, and everyone knows that. It's actually a really cool place to drive.
Isn't that cool though? The weather being
it does add an element.
I was hoping for chaos Friday night. I'm like, let's just pour down all weekend.
My car was amazing.
Good old famous historical Sandown 500s with absolute carnage in the mud, and I mean, I wasn't that quick in the drive.
That's just the car.
I was really hoping for one of those days.
Actually, same. But I do love Sandown because it has a lot of deg. So you do have to like drive it a certain way to look after the tyre. You can see people in the pack like expend their energy on their tyre like straight away, and you know you're going to get them later. And there's that sort of element of finesse and experience that you need to drive a car. So I do love Sandown as an endurance race.
And we've had a 500 at the Phillip Island. And QR. And it doesn't really have the same.
I actually drove a Will Davison at the Phillip Island 500.
Did you?
Yes.
That didn't last long.
How'd that go?
Did it?
How did that go? That was a HRT.
How did we go?
There was three of us were
No,
teammates.
Dave, I recall, I think you ripped the steering out early, or someone hit you.
Did you?
Remember down at, I think it was Lukey Heights or MG.
What year was that?
Did you crash with?
Like
2010.
2010. I can't remember. I don't think I crashed, did I?
No, I think someone hit you. I think we DNF'd.
Did you?
I'm sure. I didn't.
What year was that?
2010.
2010.
2010. So who did I have? Cam McConnell.
I'd had a 100% win record with HRT till then. Garth and I, we took them both out in 09.
Bring Reynolds in, the young guy that we'd groomed, and he crashed
Stuffed it up. I don't remember crashing.
To be honest, I was highly guilty for
That's a worry.
Sorry, Dave. I still regret that.
Actually, yeah, you guys were one
Only because what he was going to do on the podium.
Wilbur did a whole lot more damage at Bathurst. What
was he going to do?
I don't know. I don't think he was going to have his race suit on anyway. What did you say, Dave?
I think there was 20 laps to go, and they said, "Oh, you're looking like you're going to come third. Are you going to celebrate in a certain way?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to stand naked on the podium." And then,
They must have told Will because he crashed.
Well, CL and J-Dub were in front. We're just in a big fuel save.
Yeah.
Actually, rumour has it, without the safety car I caused, you guys weren't going to make it home.
I
was very tight.
His was very tight. I was good.
Were you?
Well, I was better.
Because I'll never forget, I think it was lap 153. I mean, it's exactly that lap. That's what it was. And I remember that lap, it was just saving. And I'm like, well, we're going to try and win this thing or not. Like, you guys were saving, and it was literally like, just go.
Yeah.
Just go. We don't know if we're going to make it. We were good. And I went.
into the fence.
Yeah, that happened right in front of me.
Right
in front of me.
Yeah, it really hurt.
Yeah,
and I went flat down to the grate, the old cars. You know how hard we had it back in the day, guys.
Yeah.
It was
Gen
really
one
hard.
car.
I just
Gen
the
one
rear
car.
just
Still my
stepped and I
favourite.
grabbed the marbles and ouch. Yeah.
You broke your rib, didn't you? Or
Yeah, I
cracked a
did.
rib?
Yeah.
Same
yeah,
thing.
Opened a tear duct.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I was
At least,
out for a
at
little
least
bit.
my pants got to stay on.
Oh, still regret that.
Welcome back to our post-Sandown, pre-Bathurst, drivers-only podcast. This is episode 5. We have David Reynolds with me here in Melbourne, Craig Lowndes and Will Davison in the Brisbane studios. And in the run to Bathurst, guys, and we'll have some pretty wide and varied versions of this. I want to know what your very first memory of Bathurst. So, Will Davison, you're from a racing dynasty, not necessarily a Bathurst racing dynasty, but what's your first memory of Bathurst?
As in my first trip to the mountain?
No,
Or
I want to
What's your
know
memory?
the
A memory's a
first
memory.
thing when you think about the earliest thing that you can remember about Bathurst. What is it?
Listen, I wish it was earlier. Like, as you said, I don't think Bathurst is, it's not, my bread and butter was Sandown, Adelaide Formula One. Bathurst, I mean, it's probably a pack of arseholes by Jimmy. No, it's maybe a bit earlier than that. It's definitely,
love
I've got
that one
images
too.
of a Crompo talking his way around in the HRT car. Someone tell me, was that 91, Percy? No, Grice and Percy, when did they win
Percy,
for
yeah,
HRT?
91.
That was
91,
early
wasn't
90s, yeah.
1990,
1990, that was a VL, yeah.
What was the, no, okay, yep.
Cedo was in the 87 in the Nissan in the wet.
Yeah, I've got
Yep.
images of that. There's hanging it out of the cutting, but that's we see that vision everywhere, don't we? But and just those Sierras. I mean, 60 horsepower to 600 like a switch.
Yeah.
To this day, until I've actually got the detail from DJ and Bowie, that's like my dream car. And then DJ's like, mate, it actually wasn't that much fun. It was just fun. But yeah, the Sierra. I'm just going to go with the Sierras, the onboard shots of the Sierras, shootout laps.
You should ask
Lowndes?
DJ about.
That's what you're going with, Will.
I was just going to say to Will.
To his memory.
I wish it was earlier, but listen, that's about me.
You should ask DJ about when he was commentating a lap and the rear wing collapsed on him down into the chase.
Well, wasn't that the sprint when they did the sprint race there in
Bathurst
94?
Mid-90s,
No, it was
yeah.
96,
Mid-90s.
was it?
Were you
mid-90s.
racing then, Lowndes? Were you racing there then?
Not in the main game, no. No. I think
So
I was
it
just
must have
about
been
to break
earlier than
into it.
96,
Yeah, it must be
yeah.
93. No, maybe early 94, but yeah.
So
Commentating,
DJs
beautiful.
DJs had flexi wings back in 94.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not the technical version of a flexi wing.
Yeah,
Lowndes,
no.
you're the elder statesman of us. So, what's your earliest memory of Bathurst?
Post-war, please. Post-war.
Post-war.
Yeah.
Colour vision.
Yeah, the FX Holden. No, probably the early 80s, I think, is when it really, because like Dad used to go there all the time and scrutineer and help out and all that sort of stuff. And it was actually interesting. Dad still got some old 8mm, the old projector. He used to drag it out at home and had a white sheet and used to watch it, and there was nothing in pit lane. It was just literally a yellow line that was the difference between a racetrack and a pit lane. There was no wall, no nothing. And but the early 80s, like the big bangers and all that, like George Fury, even Kevin Bartlett and the old Camaro. Like it was, but that era, again, like what GT was saying, like the racing you loved, but if you actually really analysed it now, it was probably not that good because there was a big difference between the car.
Yeah,
Well, Brock did win a close one in 79. He only won it by 6 laps. So
Yeah, and he broke the record, I think, in the last lap too.
last lap, broke that record.
Yeah.
Can I just, something I loved was,
Yeah.
what's that vision of a few years ago we all drove PB's cars as the
Yeah.
what was it?
When Lowndes nearly crashed that Monaro.
Oh, the
What if
Monaro?
you really crashed down the hill and you're sliding across the bucket seat?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've got amnesia.
You do know because there's vision of it, so don't bail out of that one.
We had the full wobble into the dipper.
And
I think.
that was typical Lowndes luck when he gets away with that stuff. If it was any us other three, we would have crashed the bloody thing and it would have been a massive drama. But Lowndes was smiling. Look at me. Look how good I am. He's completely out of control in this priceless race car.
Were you in the 87 VL?
Yeah, I was in the 87. And man, I was
that's a good-looking
I
car.
was so scared because it had just been restored. Like that was almost its first drive. And I'm like, and they're like, yeah, you'll be right. Get into it a bit. And I was like, no chance. No way. And then I hear about old mate that's having a moment coming down the S's over Skyline in the Monaro. It's like, yeah,
Well, they told me after I got out of
Lowndes.
the Monaro that they were the original tyres. So, like, I actually wanted to try and go for I think back then they were doing like 3 minute
3
laps.
minutes. Yeah, just over
So
3.
I wanted to have a crack at a lap, but Scaife was in one car and Todd Kelly was in another.
I had the Bill Patterson Tirana, actually.
Oh, yeah?
The 78 pole winner.
Oh, yeah.
That
nice.
was great. And then Jamie Singh stopped up to the cut.
That's right. Ran out of fuel. Typical Jamie story. Ran out of fuel.
Jerry can.
What's your earliest memory?
Mine was watching on TV 1984 Hardy's Heroes, Dick Johnson crashing into the trees.
Oh, yes.
And then the story after that of them buying the car. So I was in Perth, obviously, growing up. So on the 7 News that night, they're trying to do some deal, and you turn the telecast on in Sunday morning, and they'd done the big reshell of another car or taken another car and tried to rebuild green stuff into another car and all, that whole thing. It really, that was 84, so I was 7 when
I should have called it Trees Tough.
Trees
Had
tough.
a guy last year, a guy come up last year, which is one of the cool things being with DJR on and off for so many years. But I mean, you'd think DJ, he's seen every bit of memorabilia and signed every
signed it.
Body orifice in the world and a bit of car part. But there was a guy that night said he went down to the tree, bunch of green bark off the tree that he'd had framed up.
Oh, wow.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, and he brought it to the track, and I was like, DJ, you're going to want to see this. And I think even he was a bit wowed. I don't think he believed it at first, but I think it was
Just some
100%
shill
authentic.
salesman painted some like bit of bark out the back green and said, "I've got yours,
probably.
DJ. Come have a look."
I believe him.
That's
I
me.
believe
That's
him.
something I'd do.
Reynolds?
My memory, it's the 24-hour Bathurst in 1992. Is it James Hardy 24-hour? And
It was 12 hours back
the
then.
12-hour, sorry. And there was a Mazda RX-7 that was winning, and my old man sat up and watched it. And I remember waking up in the morning. Well, it does a little bit. And so I remember waking up in the morning. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I walked out, and my old man started watching the 12-hour, and there was a green BP, I think it
Yep,
was.
BP.
BP,
Yep.
RX-7.
There was
Moffat,
Dick Johnson,
was it?
Greg Hansford, Neil Crompton, Scaife was driving it. There was like a couple of cars.
Yeah, okay.
Some big dudes. So,
then I ended
some
up-
big dogs doing the
Big
guns. Careful how you say that.
And then I ended up buying RX-7 in like when I was 15 years old, a Series 1s, and I've still got it today. So
Oh, is that the one you were talking about, Will?
Oh, yeah.
No, that was I had two of them. I had
Oh, did you?
I had two of them at one point.
Yeah. Did you need to get a second one because the first one?
Well, the
Yeah.
first one was mine. The second one was my brother's that became mine. It was like a hand-me-down RX-7.
Okay. So you
Yeah,
didn't.
but that's the one that had the skull gear knob and
Have you-
the,
so you've got that one
sideways
still?
onto the Eastern Freeway.
So first, okay, so let's keep the Bathurst theme going. And firsts, Wilbur, first time you raced at Bathurst, was it in a
So-
supercar or was it in something else?
It was in a Formula Ford.
Yeah, Formula
And
Ford.
I
I
Oh,
wonder.
reckon
that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good year for you, GT.
Was it what year?
2000.
Ah,
Is that 2000?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
you and
yeah,
Bugs?
yep,
You and
yep,
Bugs,
yep,
2000?
yep.
Because actually, it is a good
was that
story,
my old
'cause-
car?
No. So I'd already raced that all year, the 95 VD,
Yeah,
which is Garth's 97 championship winning Formula Ford car. And that was my first Formula Ford in 2000. But then at the end of the season, we did the support race at Bathurst in the 98 Van Diemen, which was my brother's car the year before, and Stewie McCole, our teammate, had raced it that year. So we thought, we'll do Bathurst in the longer wheelbase 98 VD, and it pissed down with rain all weekend. I'll never forget that because I've arrived there. I was in awe anyway. Just the first lap of that place up the mountain, couldn't actually see that the rain was so bad. My first session at the mountain and the support pits where we were. I remember getting the car to the grid and getting back after the session. I had to get a run up. There was like 4 Formula Fords bogged in the mud. And then I got a run up and just gassed it and got through to where our pit was. Trucks were buried in. It was, anyway, a memorable weekend. But my first ever session, I was P1 by 5.5 seconds. But only because I was
Just
to
to tell
stupid one
everyone.
going flat out
Not
down
bragging
Conrod.
or anything.
No,
I remember old Mick Ritter just popped his head in. He goes, "Oh, not bad, knackers. I'm pole by 5.5 seconds." I wasn't pole; it was P1. But yeah, remember, and won the race. Had a cracker with Nick Aglin for memory. Oh, it was so wet, and then crashed in the second one with him at the chase. So, but yeah, memorable.
Imagine the
memorable
first time you ever
weekend.
went there, pissing down rain. How
No, I
scary
did.
would
The
it be?
first time I went to Bathurst was, Lowndes, you remember these, the media days. Remember we used to go, when the championship used to finish at Oran Park in about August, and then we'd go straight up to Bathurst and do the media day. And I'd never seen Bathurst before at all in 98, so obviously raced the balance of the championship in 98 and then go up for the media day, which was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And it was, as we were driving through Lithgow, it was snowing. And I'd, from Perth, never seen snow before. I was like, holy smokes, what's this place all about? And then we got to Bathurst and it was, it was like 2000, that same, it was just torrential rain. And those of us that have driven for Gary Rogers will know that he just goes, nope, you're not driving in the rain. We're not going out there.
Sounds like Gary
everyone's skidding around doing laps of Bathurst. I've never been there before. And I I think he let us go out and go over the top of the mountain once. And that was
Thanks,
it.
Gaz.
It was pouring with rain. So I got no prep, no laps at all prior to Bathurst in 98. So that was the first time I saw the place and it was underwater. Yeah. So
What was
much,
it actually
much like 2000.
boys, being able to fat arm, when the seat was over.
Oh, good.
Rest the arm on the side.
It's great.
I think my first chassis I could reach it. I'm like I'm a V8 driver down pit lane with the elbow up. It was great. But that would have been, you look at some of those shots of you in 94
Oh, yeah.
CL, and that was your debut, 94?
Yeah, 94.
Yeah.
GT and the VS? No, what was the 98?
Yeah, 98 was VS. Yeah,
VS, and then with VT,
And then
yeah.
VT at the end, yes.
You look inside them even now.
Some
and you're like,
drivers,
"Ooh."
some drivers still have long enough arms they can
Yeah,
do
it
it.
can still fat arm it. Yeah, I can do that.
You can tell those drivers because they drag their knuckles on the ground.
I have got a cut on the back. So, Lowndes, when did you race at Bathurst prior to V8? Did you do Formula Ford or anything?
Yeah, 94. And it was actually interesting because the Will was interesting about you because you drove the Formula Ford there. So it was 90.
You raced Formula Ford there?
No,
Oh,
see,
you-
Dad gave me the opportunity to either race at Bathurst or go to the Adelaide Street.
Oh, okay.
So I raced over at Formula One, and
You're right.
I unfortunately didn't race at Bathurst in the Formula Ford. But my first race car at Bathurst was 94, but it was early in the year. It was the 12-hour. I drove a Nissan Pulsar Triple S with
What
the
a
Morris
car.
brothers.
Classy.
Yeah. It took me 4 laps to find a radio station because it was a full production car that had just a roll cage and a race seat. Everything else, nothing.
Beautiful.
Wasn't radio station code for cheating in production cars where you got a different engine map or something like that? You changed the dial or something?
No, we weren't that smart then. And I remember we were racing Murray Carter. He had a Triple S Pulsar as well, but he had the 4-door. We had basically the 5-door. And we were coming down to the last stint, and we come into the pits. We'd had the TAFE help prepare and basically spanner the car the whole weekend. Got to the stop. We had to change brake pads, and we couldn't get a brake pedal. Pedal me straight to the floor. Right. And Dad's just yelling at them, basically, just open up the nipples, just bleed, pump it through, pump it through. So we spent a bit of time in the pit lane. I got a half a brake pedal, and he says, all right, lock him up, send him. So I'm running around with a half a brake pedal trying to get this thing pumped up. And it was actually really cool because it was front-wheel drive, and I'd never really raced a front-wheel drive car. It was flat across the top. It was just like, so I think it was third gear, it was flat. And then we ended up winning our class.
Do you remember what lap time you were doing?
Like a 16 or an 18 or something.
2:16.
No way. Not a pro car.
16 minutes.
I raced a Beetle
It's probably
there
a 16 minutes.
in 01. I think I did a 2:36.
Yeah,
I still had
something-
the flower. We still had the flower.
I
in the
remember
console.
98. My qualifying time in the supercar was a 14, so there's no way a Pulsar was.
Maybe it was that
3
in that
minute
switch.
16s, maybe Lowndes. Either that or you found a really fast radio station.
No, I can't remember. But it was that first time. And the whole purpose of doing the race was hopefully at the end of 94 getting opportunity like we did. At least we knew the track and understood what it was.
And I think you broke at turn 2 where you were in the Pulsar that day.
Probably,
and
yeah.
rounded Bowie up.
About the 25-minute mark.
He's used to driving no
It
brakes.
worked.
He missed the brake pedal altogether. That's how he passed Bowie.
I still reckon Bowie broke early that day.
You missed
We
the
had
brake
this
pedal.
argument. No, I broke late. There's no doubt about that. But he broke early.
Hey, guys, you can still scare yourself at Bathurst every year at the 6 hour in a production car. You're welcome to come and join me. I've done it the last 2 years.
No thanks.
No, thanks.
No, yeah, good call.
Reynolds, what was the first thing you drove at Bathurst?
Well, the first thing I drove at Bathurst was a 996 Cup car, like 05. But my first time in a supercar, I remember I was driving with McConville PWR car. And
Didn't make the start, did it?
didn't make the start.
Blew
No, the
up on
engine,
the warm-up
engine
lap.
smishmorted itself on the warm-up lap.
It
It was
was.
hilarious. Smishmorted itself. It aborted itself, basically. And but my memory was like,
Don't say,
I remember going
yeah.
out. Don't say it. I remember going out for practice, and all week I've been watching Greg Murphy's shootout lap, like 206.8, whatever it is, 206.8. I'm like, okay, I reckon I could do that.
What was your first flyer?
That's
My
a
first
mistake
flyer
for
was
young
like-
players doing
My
that.
first flyer was like a 14 something, high 14. I went, holy shit, I am miles.
And you
off
were
the pace.
sure
And I
you
was
were
like,
doing exactly
oh,
what Murph
and
did,
I, like,
didn't you?
Yeah, 100%. Like it was miles off the pace. I'm like, how am I going to go like 8 seconds?
But that
faster?
happens every year at Bathurst.
Every
First
year.
lap out. you
It
go,
used to be
"Oh,
more, though.
man.
I'm sure it used
How
to be
far away?"
scarier. I don't know. I remember
Well,
that. same
remember the
feeling.
surface used to be really bad. It used to be like very heavy aggregate, like really deg. But now it's like that smooth billiard table surface. It gives you a lot of response. Obviously, our cars have changed quite a lot. But the old cars, the old Gen 1 cars, are heaps harder to drive. That's my personal opinion anyway. So
Well, it took me 6 years to pull fourth into the cutting because I was too scared to downshift to third. That
would have been when-
into first. Maybe
Well, that-
not 6 years.
When
but
was
anyway,
that?
that's cool.
When was that? Was that
Well,
sequential by then?
No, I did 04,
No,
5,
they
6,
actually-
7.
So still.
I did
H
4
pattern.
years age pattern, so I classify old
Fourth
school.
back to third was just straight up, Wilbur. You didn't have to go
Yeah,
across
but
the
not
gate.
when you're hanging over to the
Don't have
left.
to count.
That's what I'm talking about, like Murph, turning flat third. Anyway. You know what I'm
Those
saying?
are the
Maybe I exaggerated that
yeah,
at the
maybe.
expense of myself, but you get what I'm saying.
While we're on Bathurst, this year, form guide. Who are the ones this year?
well, based off the 500, you got to say the Red Bull guys are very fast. The
I
Monster
hate
car will be very
obvious form
fast.
guides. Yeah.
Yeah. Half
Okay,
the
then
problem
let's,
is we've
let's
already
park the form guides because
we've
we'll
already
also
been
the
there.
obvious ones. Smokies.
Smokies, maybe that Reynolds and Luffy. I reckon
No,
they're
you can't say
Smoky.
yourself.
Oh, I can't say.
has.
Luffy will go really well.
No,
that's not
You
myself.
can't say your car, Reynolds. Seriously. Okay,
who's the
we'll
Smoky?
give you some elevator music time to think about it. Lowndes, who's your Smoky?
Ooh, Smokey. That's a good question.
Yeah,
I
that's
reckon,
why we're not doing the obvious ones.
Yeah. I reckon that Kai and Will,
Oh, thanks, Seal.
they'll be quick.
See,
So I think,
see what we're doing
We're
here is
angry.
we're
We're
actually
angry
pissing
from
people
Sandown.
off.
yeah,
We're pissing
no.
people off because
No, I
anyone
think-
we say, we're not saying they're the obvious ones.
True. True. No.
That's four
True,
guys.
actually,
no?
yeah.
Yeah, so Smoke, go. Why, Craig? Why?
Well, I reckon Kai is a good young talent. I think that they'll come out of Sandown, like Will said, like they had a shit run and basically got something to prove. And I think that your cars have been quite good there. And I think that from memory they were actually right at the start of the year.
Good last year. Well,
Anton was
podium
third
last year,
last
but the
year.
soft tyre, obviously.
Yeah.
Hard tyre at the start of this year. I'd like to think you're right. Well, we are hit and miss, but we're capable of goodness, and we're fired up after a shocker at Sandown. That was pretty embarrassing performance by us. So thanks.
Who's
We'll see.
your Smokey?
Smokey? What do we got? I mean, I just hate
Play the
staying
thinking
in
time.
Do we need elevator music for you too, Will?
Dave, you were pretty good there. And Richie was quick
I was
there
okay,
too.
yeah.
He's
Richie was
come
good.
out of the blocks like
Yep.
first race out of the game for years and set himself up for the year very well. So
Can I
he's
chime
got
in?
nothing to lose. You can see a few times I've raced him at the moment. He's racing with a bit of a point
Angry,
to prove, I think. Bit of an angry man, and he was quick at the start of the year. So we'll
So my
roll with
actual
that.
real Smokey will be Hazelwood and Kostecki.
Ooh.
Because
He's the reigning champion. Are they
Reigning
Smokies?
champion?
They got number one on the card.
Haven't had the recent form to suggest that they're red hot. So
Brody didn't do the
fast,
first
you know,
two races, so
Yeah, they'll
last
fast
year
until they
he
weren't.
was miles. He was so fast last year; it was
Yeah.
ridiculous. So that's who I'm.
Yeah, okay.
If it's not me, it's going to be them.
Okay.
How about you, Buck? How about you, Garth?
Golding and Dave Russell.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy was on the front row at the sprint race at the start
Yep.
of the year. And we know
Yes,
Dave Russell's a very, very strong co-driver. So on the podium at Bathurst that probably a lot of people wouldn't have picked. So I think they can continue that form.
Maybe BJR. They've just announced their alliance with T8
Has that
now.
does that kick in? Has it kicked in? Is it like with immediate effect? Craig Lowndes, you're our reporter from 888 Race Engineering at the moment.
How's it going down there?
Janie's got the money, yes.
I just want to get
funds
access
clear.
to that cable that's running between 10 cars of information.
It's a pretty long cable to go from 888 garage down to BJR. I hope all the data makes it.
No, we get
They've
smoke
got so many
signals.
cables, they have to make one of those worms. You know, those big worms for travelling
That's a
information.
lot of info going back and forth.
Yeah.
There'd be some propellers flying pretty hard on those.
Oh, there is JJ and those boys in there. Yeah, they're always looking at stuff.
There's always a positive with grouping of big cars.
Do you guys get 10 cars of info and the others just get 2?
Well, I know we only get information from the 2 cars.
Okay.
So if those 2 cars get all the information out of the 10
It
cars,
sounds like they're getting paid to get 10 cars of info. It sounds like a pretty
I reckon
good
that's
deal.
probably a
Yes,
good
well,
deal for them.
It's
Yeah.
not a bad deal, is it?
There is like a silver lining with everything. So there's obviously 10 cars that are grouped together. But when they have a bad session, there's 10 slow cars.
There's 10
out there.
cars in the back.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, Dave, we can keep
no,
on.
I'm not for it. I'm against
I think
it.
888 have pretty much got the runs on the board.
Yeah, I know,
There's
but
a reason why teams
I
want
like
to
to think
connect
of
to
the
them.
positive all the time.
Yeah, I know. Positive for you, negative for them.
Actually, I'll give you a funny. I want to give you a funny story before you can come on about
Yeah.
Bathurst, and it's one that's sort of is always stuck in my brain. You got to go all the way back to '97. So I've just come out of Europe, had a shit run over there.
You was
desperate to
Murph
have
that year, weren't you?
Yeah, it was Murph.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that
Murph.
up the top? Is that
Yeah.
little whoopsie?
Murph was the lead driver. I was just the co-driver, trying to resurrect some sort of a decent year. Chasing Scaife across the top of the mountain. I go around the outside of a car down into the grate, slam it up against the wall, have to then apologise to the crew, Murph and everyone else. And I get out of the car
I've done that.
and I walk across to the crowd. And I don't know if you remember, there used to be an old police sort of
compound.
compound up the top of the mountain. So, and I always wondered why there was barbed wire, but it was barbed wire to keep the people out, not to hit people in. So I'm going across, and this young kid comes up and he goes to me, "Oh, signature." And I said, "Oh, look, yeah, okay. I've just had a really bad race. I'm really annoyed with myself." And he goes, "No. Do you want mine?" And then with that, he runs
old
off through the
chestnut.
crowd, and I'm trying to look for him, the little bugger. He's just gone.
That's like a Richie. How
about an autograph?
Who do I make it up to? To dear Richie?
And then I walk into the police compound, and then they've got this big long trestle with food. And I'm thinking, God, these guys have got the life up here.
So how long did you hang around?
No, a little while. I had something to eat, got rid of it, and then I finally got driven back down the bottom. But yeah, I always remember this little kid being so cheeky. I'm like, I've just had a shit of a race, and he's just tipped it off.
Listen, all the greats have of crashed HRT cars there. You know, where did Peter do it? 05?
Yeah, he did it up there. Same spot.
You just had to
I've
do
crashed
it.
there.
Respect.
I passed Todd
And
Kelly
I did
on
the same
outback.
in that livery. That was a retro livery that year. So I thought
Must be that livery.
Oh, it must be. Yeah. And then Garth
Hey,
somehow
what
podiumed
about-
that day, and your door fell off in the pit stop in 2010.
That year,
from memory,
2010.
Garth.
So I had to dodge Will crushing the car in front of me. We hit a kangaroo. The door fell off in the pit stop when Cam McConville was using his triathlon arms and ripped the door off. And early in the race, I was coming into the pit lane, and you go through the chicane before the 40K line at Bathurst, and the medical centre's right at pit entry there. The medical cars come smoking out of the medical area and driven straight into the rear door of the race car when I'm coming into pit lane. So I was like on the radio, guys, this is a measure of how well our day's going. The medical cars just hit us. That's how well we're going. And somehow we still ended up on the podium.
Actually, I remember before, I think Dave and Cam were in the car, and I'm chatting to GTs, having the day from hell, and you're like, my steering's bent, the thing's this, the thing's that. And then towards the end, I think I'm in third, chasing the lead, and Garth's behind me. I'm like, is Garth a lap behind? They're like, oh, no, he's back in the race.
He's coming, he's coming.
Garth just telling me the thing's a lemon, the steering's bent, and I'm like, oh, jeebus, right, here we go.
Maybe the medical cars straightened up the steering for us. Yeah,
I think you said it gripped up at the end, and your thing
it did go all right. It did go all right. It was pretty average before that. Thanks very much, Will Davison, Craig Lowndes, David Reynolds. That has been the Drivers Only podcast. We're looking forward to Bathurst. Hope to see you all there.